We'll be live here on the Buddy Martin Show on a Monday night. Meldon Law Monday, and Shane Matthews is standing by right now. So let's start it out tonight, folks. It's going to be a good show. Shane Matthews, David Moulton, Fransbeard, all coming to you right here. Stand by. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Our sponsor.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
All right, thanks very much to Meldon Law. Here's the sponsor for Shane Matthews. Check him out, TitanMRI.com.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff Cardoza. Good evening. I'm Buddy Martin. Let's go right to the Orange and Blue Room as you folks begin to log on here. Come join us. Tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air. And here's the man of the hour. Almost pulled that game out. Oh, a terrific football game. I got a chance to watch it. And it was two Gators going against each other. Shane Matthews calling the plays for the Guardians. And the Seattle defensive coach was Ron Zook. Quite a battle. Good evening to you, Shane. It was an interesting ball game, and you put some yards on them.
Yeah, buddy, we came up short. We've moved up to either second or third in the league in offense. Just finding ways to lose games. We had shoot a block punt down to the 2-yard line, gave up too long. Special teams, kickoff returns, just silly stuff. But it's fun. I enjoy calling the plays, and it was definitely fun going up against the Zooker.
Got a lot of TV time there. You were shown on television quite a bit, and glad to see that. And saw you calling the plays. And just tell folks if they don't know about the XFL and your job there as a quarterback coach for the Orlando Guardians. I know some of the friends of Zucker went down there on Saturday. I believe some of yours did too. Tell folks about that team. Haven't won one, but getting closer.
Yeah, we're not very good on special teams. We've lost, I think, 3 games due to special teams, and who knows if we'll win a game. But I started calling plays the last 2 games, and we scored 32 and 19 points, and had about 400 yards of offense both games. But finding ways to lose games, and stats are for losers, buddy. You got to find ways to win games. So it's been fun though. League's been outstanding, and the best team in the league is clearly the DC team. Their personnel is outstanding. That whoever was in charge of their drafting did a fine job. But we'll see. We play them actually Saturday. They'll probably be undefeated if they win this evening. So it'll be a tough challenge, but got to suit up, kick it off, and see what happens.
Shane, what would you like your friends and pals in Gainesville and Freddie Weeby and coach and stuff to know? You called Ernie Mills' play last week I don't know, you call it something else. Tell them a little bit about what's going on and when you're back and when you're on the show, just for those who are asking. I get a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, I do my show every 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm live Monday mornings and Friday mornings right now. I'll be back at the end of the season, end of April, and we'll be back full force going live. And doing it, taping the show obviously is not ideal, but we're making do. But yeah, we'll be back in full effect end of April.
I know this is one of your favorite times of the year to watch basketball, and I don't imagine you got a chance to watch too much basketball. But some crazy things we're going to talk about here in a little bit with David Moulton. This is whoever thought 4 of the 4 teams, 2 would be from South Florida. How about that?
Yeah, I actually love it, buddy. I did get to watch games yesterday, and I was very upset. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I picked the Creighton Blue Jays in December to win the national title.
You did. I remember it.
And they got screwed. I mean, give San Diego credit. And obviously, Creighton had a big lead and went cold in the second half, couldn't make a shot. And
really?
San Diego State just wears on you. But, boy, to call that foul there at the end, it was hard to watch. But, yeah, give FAU a lot of credit. Dusty May, the former Gator assistant there, Brian Greenlee, their starting point guard. I coached him in all his youth sports. His son, he and my son are the same age, so he went to the Rock to play basketball there in Gainesville. So I'm rooting for the Owls to win it all.
All right. Well, I'll tell you, it's fascinating basketball. Ratings aren't going to be very good. They're already talking about how bad it because none of the Blue Bloods are in. But here's the one thing I want to talk about. I'm not good at this, but I mean, look back at some of the games that Todd Golden's team played his first year, and look where they did. Look, they beat Houston, right? They beat Furman and Miami, right? They lost to Xavier, I believe, and they lost to Florida Atlantic and UConn. Is that correct?
I don't think we played Houston, and I don't think we played
Miami.
Miami.
I thought they played them in a tournament, but I guess maybe
we may have. I do know that we lost to FAU, we lost to Xavier, we lost to UConn, but I don't know if we actually played Houston or Miami.
Played Furman, and also
we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And beat Miami. So anyway, I'm not good on research records. I don't have a crack staff, but anyway, interesting to see how that played out. Here's the other thing. It's interesting. For the first time since people can remember, and you might remember McDonald's All-Americans started in 1977 when you were just a kid. They started having it, and since they started, I think this is the first time, according to what Jason Whitlock said, I didn't check this out, there's not a McDonald's All-American in the Final Four.
Huh, that's interesting. I would have thought UConn would have had a couple. They have one of the best pure shooters I've ever seen in college basketball. I don't remember his name, but he's number 24. He is as close to Ray Allen as anybody I've ever seen. He can shoot from all positions, pulling up on the dribble, whatever. But that's a pretty good stat right there. Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of things coming out now about the Final Four. We'll see how it's going to work out with those 4 teams. Who winds up with it all. I know that people like UConn a lot. They, et cetera, et cetera. We will see. They got, and also, by the way, for the first time, there's not in the men's and women's NCAA tournament, there's not a number 1, a number 2, or a number 3, I believe, seed in the tournament anymore, which is amazing when you stop and think about it. I don't know why. And this year, they include number 4 UConn, number 5 Miami, number 5 San Diego State, and number 9 Florida Atlantic in the men's side. So that's a bizarre stat, huh?
Well, I do know women, South Carolina, they're still in it. Yeah. They're going to probably win the national team.
Right. I know they should be number 1, so that might not be right. It says names in women's, but certainly men's is true. And again, this is not my strong suit here. All right, let's talk a little football for a minute. I know you haven't had a chance to follow it. You said last week that your reports coming out about Graham Mertz were that he was positive from your friends that saw him. I got a little tip from my friend David Moulton about this last week. He'll be on tonight. He said he doesn't care anything about knowing, I believe I want to quote him right, about anything about any hype regarding Gator football or players. it's not news, and anything come out of there, it's the only thing that's news is the injuries, which of course we don't get, and he's not buying into the Mertz hype, as he called it. I don't know, and I said, well, people want to know what's happening. So repeat again what you said when you told me that your friends were positive, and then since that time, an interview has come out with Mertz, which is interesting, and obviously we know he's a workaholic, and supposedly he's throwing the ball sharp. Again, it's just spring practice. You're not allowing him not face any pressure, but you're hearing good things, right?
Yeah, I've talked to multiple people that have been to practices and scrimmages and stuff, and they say he looks like a poised quarterback that knows where to go with the football. He's been accurate, and I mean, that's what the position's all about, in my opinion. Now, I haven't seen any of it myself, but I trust these people, and I'm just going by what they've said.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it comes out. I guess the good news, if they can say that, we don't know. Kuza, I don't know if you heard that or not. The left guard, there was a transfer they thought we were speaking highly of, tweeted out last week he was leaving the program. But he deleted the tweet. And then,
he's back. He's hurt.
Torn labrum, is that what he's got? I heard he had torn labrum.
Yeah, he's hurt, and he was, probably upset, wanting to go home, what have you. But I think he's still with the program. But it wasn't like he was leaving. He's probably not going to play because he's injured.
He's got to rehab someplace. You might as well come here and get it rehabbed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's we got good medical care. There's no question about that.
All right, you didn't see the golf.
I watched a little bit of it.
I watched
some of it. Yeah,
I was hoping to get Rory and Scheffler in the finals in the match play, and we didn't. And Burns ended up winning it. Played great, all credit due, and all that, whatever. But now it's not that match play is not on the schedule next year.
I know. I don't know why it's not. I read a brief article on it. I can't remember why they said it, but I love the match play, especially there at the Austin Country Club. I think it's a cool place to watch a tournament.
It is. Yeah, and you had maybe the two best players, dominant players in the game playing. Fun to watch, and what have you. So you want to tell me about your Final Four picks now?
I don't have anybody in the Final Four, buddy.
But you get to repick, though. You got 4 teams. So
you get to. I think it's going to be UConn and FAU.
Okay.
And I will go, like I told you, because one of my son's best friends is their point guard. I will go with the FAU Owls. I'm rooting for them to win it all.
Hearing anything about the basketball program and any recruiting stuff, information? I know you're at a disadvantage being, living in Texas and not hearing it, but anything that you can share with us before we let you go?
No, I don't have any scoop on hoops. I know a lot of guys are in the transfer portal, and I have no problem with that. If they feel like they need to go somewhere else, or as we've said many times, buddy, when you have that exit meeting, we don't know if the coach is somewhat pushing them out the door or what. So I think you just need to hang in there. They didn't have obviously they went to the NIT and didn't do well in the game, but they played a tough schedule. A lot of teams they lost to made deep runs in the tournament.
Yeah. Shane Matthews, are you back in Texas now, right?
Oh yeah, buddy. We charter, so as soon as the game's over,
you didn't even go home. You just went right back to Texas. Or home is Texas for a few weeks. Shane, good to hear you. Don't forget you can carry him on is it Monday? Is it what days you're now alive? Is it Saturday and
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Okay, and we'll catch him on the usual time and place, and all his great sponsors, including Titan MRI. Shane's great talking to you. We miss you. Come home, buddy.
I'll be home soon, buddy. Appreciate it, my man.
All right. Shane Matthews, the QB, checking in as he always does on Monday. And has always has something to offer. And he almost got a win there. I had a picture I was going to pull up, and I forgot to. It's a picture of he and Ron Zook after the game in Orlando. Let's go to the guy who started it all last week. It's still getting people calling me up and complaining to me about it. But you know what? He's the Grinch that stole hope. It's okay. We need to mix it up every once in a while. I need a little something like this on the side. And he is going to, I'm sure, put me in my place as he did last week. The great David Moulton. Good evening, David. How you doing, buddy?
I'm fine, buddy. How are you?
Well, considering that what I've been through the last couple of weeks, I'm doing really well.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. You look good.
Thank you. And you, my friend. Listen, tell me about this Final Four. I mean, I'm shaking my head too, trying to figure it out. I guess, as I said, what we have now is we have 4 teams, 2 from South Florida, that great bastion of college basketball.
Right. Exactly. I will say the Gators played a small role in this. FAU's win against Florida is far more significant than I think people realize. FAU lost every game they played last year that was decided by 5 points or less. They went like 0-6 or 0-7 in every close game last year. So they start off this year, they have a disappointing performance, and they lose at Ole Miss. I mean, their coach got fired. They had such a bad year. Yeah. And then they go to Gainesville, and it's a close game, obviously, and they pulled it out. And that was significant because in games decided by 5 points or less this year, largely same coaching staff, same group of guys, 0 for the season the year before, 11-1 this year.
Yeah.
So that close win started it, in which FAU thought they were good last year, but they left. And Dusty May has told us on our show, we thought we left a lot on the court last year. And I guess he was talking about all those close ones that got away. And so that Florida game was the beginning of them no longer leaving it on the court.
Yeah. And I said, boy, if the program of Florida is in bad shape, they can't even beat Florida Atlantic. Was I wrong or what? Here's something. I'm not good at this stuff and looking up. I tried to research a little before I came on the air about who all Florida played and beat. I had in my mind they played Houston. I don't guess they played Houston, but they did play Furman in Miami. They lost and beat them, and they lost to Xavier and FAU and UConn, right? So they played some pretty good teams,
They did. They did. I mean, clearly the program's not where it needs to be. But, year one, tough to judge coaches in any sport on year one. Now, you see what the roster looks like for year two, particularly nowadays with the transfer portal, your, Power 5 job and an elite Power 5 conference. Also we'll see if Florida, it's another indication, does Florida have their NIL act together? You find that out in the transfer portal and during the offseason.
Yeah. So what did you take out of this? Obviously, CBS is a little bit crying the blues because their numbers are not going to be that great.
You know what,
they
buddy?
don't have the big markets and the blue bloods. What do you think?
Listen, it's one of those years. It was that way during the regular season, quite frankly, buddy. There was no great team. There were teams that at times looked as if they were outstanding. UConn, the first 2 months looked great, and then they had a month where they couldn't win. Creighton was the same way. Houston had days in which if you left them alone in the ocean, they couldn't put the ball in water. I mean, Purdue is the most non-athletic 30-win Big Ten champion I think we've seen, quite frankly. I mean, there was no consistently great team. There was no men's team that was the South Carolina women. There wasn't anything close to that. Yeah. And so based on the regular season, I mean, buddy, by having me on your show for 4 years, I'm an idiot. I knew this tournament was going to be nuts because the regular season was flat out nuts. So how in the world could a tournament with so-called neutral officiating on neutral courts not be the regular season on steroids? And it's turned out to be just that, a 4, 2 5s, and a 9. I mean, buddy, last year we had Kansas, Carolina, Duke, and Villanova. I mean, literally 4 blue bloods. So this year we come back with UConn and 3 teams who have never been here before. I think it's awesome. I also think, buddy, that this isn't going to last much longer. that I do think the COVID impact of guys getting fifth and sixth years, teams being older than ever before, that it's about ready to run its course. I think we have one more year where players can still play, taking their COVID year, and that's next year. Buddy, I don't think it's a coincidence we've had a 15 seed go to the Sweet 16 the last 3 years. I don't think that that's a coincidence, where before the pandemic, it had only happened once. I do think there's something going on right now, and I think it will begin to wane in a couple years. Also, when the full effect of NIL is in place and the big boys truly start running college hoops again. But for 1 year or a 2-year off, I think it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And you know what? If CBS suffers a little bit in Final Four ratings and the secondary market in Houston that you could get in for $5, oh well, deal with it. It's been an awesome tournament.
Yeah, and you and I both are kind of for the NIL, at least for the transfer portal, at least. And we haven't figured out the NIL yet. And Barkley, did you happen to see him on 60 Minutes?
I did.
He ripped into it.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised, quite frankly, that he ripped it that badly.
Says ruined college basketball. We should never be paying these kids money, whatever, I go back to what Bo Fisher said, which still resonates, although it didn't necessarily help him when he said it. He said, some people say we've always had NIL, when there were players getting paid, and we know they were, we were, and whatever.
Of course.
But those, And so, was it Spurrier who said, I found out Alabama's scholarships are worth a little bit more than ours,
Right.
So look, I don't know, but now it's in the open. I'm not sure. In some strange way, in my mind, I'm thinking in basketball, it might help the small schools because they can go after that one guy they want to make their program, and they can get him because they can get enough money together in their community to get him. Maybe. I don't know. I just don't know how this is going to play out, David. I'm totally confused. As you said, I don't know. Well, I'm a dumb cough. I don't know what's going on. But
buddy, most likely, whoever has the most money is going to win. So, we know what's going to happen. It's just taking a little while. Right now, we got the COVID situation, and guys have been able to stay in one place or move around, and we have NIL on top of the transfer portal. So, my guess is also, buddy, they're going to rein in the transfer portal a little bit. Somehow, some way, they're going to rein it in. These control freaks are going to want to get more control over their sport. They're going to try to do it with NIL. I don't know if they can, quite frankly. I don't know if legally if they can. Because I actually think the more this goes to court, the more the athletes win. How can you limit what the athletes get in compensation when this is a multi-billion dollar operation?
No, you can't.
It seems very un-American, quite frankly.
Yeah. I think we saw something happen in Florida. It was an anomaly, that whole thing with the Shada, which got out of whack because somebody spoke before. They should have in terms of what they did. But there's also the market's going to be set. They're going to get that.
Buddy, look at how important John Ruiz has been to Miami. Okay, listen, the reason they've got Nigel Pack is because of John Ruiz. The reason that the Cavender twins are on the women's team and the women's team finally made it to the second week of the tournament is John Ruiz.
Good point.
Okay, John Ruiz has been very helpful to the University of Miami. Hasn't paid dividends yet in football, but if you notice, he's recruiting. He's getting players. Okay, so if you're a Miami fan, this John Ruiz NIL thing, this is working out.
And of course, we might say that wasn't supposed to be. They swore they weren't to be used for that, but that certainly they did. It's not going to be checks in the mail, right?
Right.
So stuff like that. So, all right, David, let me give you a little stat. You can probably figure this out. There have been 5 teams. 5 teams from the state of Florida who've gone to the Final Four. You can probably name them, right?
Well, it was 3 before these 2, and they were the Gators, the Knowles, and Jacksonville. Correct. With Artis Gilmore.
That's right. Yeah, this would be Miami's second, I guess.
No, this is their first Final Four.
First. So and then you have UCF, and FIU, Stats, etc. You can't laugh at those programs anymore because FAU is gone. You can't dismiss them. So it's interesting that Florida has had 5 trips to the Final Four, and boy, how good was that? All right, so
well, but think about it. I mean, is FAU going to the Final Four any more remarkable than Jacksonville
no, yeah,
University
and I covered that
playing
team.
for the
And,
national
you're
championship
right.
game 50 plus years ago?
You're absolutely right. I was there for that game. I covered it. Covered that team, that last championship run. It was a great run. A lot of great stories and what have you. Everybody likes to say outlaw school, but when they got into the show, got into the fabric of the people on the team, the coaches, what they were doing, it's a fabulous story. Really great. It was truly a Cinderella. They got whacked by UCLA there, and up in DC, but anyway, it was. You're right. Absolutely.
By the way, one quick similarity, that was not Gilmore's last year at Jacksonville. The guts of that team came back the next year. They made the tournament. They got knocked out. But just like FAU, I mean, I don't think there's a senior on FAU. I mean, these guys, if they don't transfer, these guys can all come back. And their coach isn't going anywhere because there's apparently no job for him. I mean, the Penn State job got filled today, right, by the VCU coach.
Right.
And it looks like he's not getting the South Florida job. And I don't even know if he'd want it because he's joining that conference next year. I mean, the only Power 5 job that's available is Texas Tech. I mean, I think Dusty's coming back. I think his roster's coming back.
Yeah, Bill Macheris points out FSU and Jacksonville went back-to-back back then. So those two teams are together back then. Yeah, you're right. FAU, Dusty May's a heck of a story and a really interesting guy. I didn't know him when he coached in Gainesville, but very well liked. His players seem to respond to him. Hell of a coaching job by some of these guys, I got to say, and good for them. They deserve it. All right, so David, did you watch any golf this weekend?
I watched the match play on Sunday. Did not watch it Wednesday through Saturday. It didn't interest me.
Were you like me rooting for Rory and Scheffler to get in the finals?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say, it's probably good for the event that they didn't because it would look absolutely ridiculous that they're canceling this event if Rory and Scheffler, had played in the final. It'd be like, why are we getting rid of this?
Yeah. Well, you covered golf a little bit, and the thing is, I don't know this. I think Dell might be pulling out as a sponsor, and that's a big ticket.
No, the PGA Tour made this decision because they basically said that, since they can't guarantee who's going to make it, to the end, they can't guarantee the television product.
Yeah.
And so the tour made this decision to get rid of the match play. Dell is based in Austin. They wanted to keep sponsoring this. Okay. The golf course loved having it. The community loved having it. But they just decided to get rid of the match play on their own.
Well, I know the numbers stink when you don't have the marquee guys in there. And listen, I was in the golf business, as you know. I know what that's like. When Tiger quit coming to the International, it killed us. It killed us. And the sponsors, and the numbers went down. The sponsors dropped us. We changed dates, and then we decided to give it up. It wasn't worth it. So you got to have those eyeballs for sure. Caught any baseball lately on any kind? You've been watching any spring games, or you didn't watch the Florida game? They swept Ole Miss over the weekend in 3 games.
Actually, I did. I'm paying attention to college baseball. There's a kid for Jacksonville who had 6 home runs over the weekend for JU. FGCU's ranked 16th in the country. The Gators are in the top 5. Miami's in the top 20. I'm paying attention to the college baseball scene, buddy.
Yeah, is the kid from Jacksonville or transfer from Florida? I don't know.
I know he's a left-hand hitting, I think, first baseman.
Yeah.
He hit 6 home runs in a doubleheader, I think it was.
It's amazing. Yeah, the Florida hit 10 over the weekend. I gave him a new they're really home run hitters. This Caglione is a monster. He hits a ball a million miles, And,
FGCU swept a 3-game series. They scored 56 runs. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a bunch. And I've nicknamed this Gator team the Florida Power Company. So we'll see. It's going to be fun. They got FSU coming up this week. So David Moulton watching a little college baseball. Look at you, Jack.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. I caught the Gators in JU for about 6 innings when they came through here about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, did you? How
Yeah.
is life in Jacksonville, David? Tell us about it.
It's fine. It's fine. It's different than Southwest Florida. There's a few more things to do, but also my daughter and granddaughter are here, so that's a little
That's
different than
always
how
good.
life
Yep.
was in
Yep.
Southwest Florida. So that's why we're here. So
For those people that don't know, how many years were you down in Fort Myers and Naples? How many years did you do this?
23.
All right. How long did you and Miller do the show together? Like 10 years, 12 years?
16.
16?
Wow.
And pretty nice lifestyle down there. But what's the difference in Jacksonville?
There's more to do.
Is there?
Yeah, there's more people and there's more to do. Yeah. It's got a little more pulse to it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and you find yourself in following more things that are more like Jacksonville, like college baseball or things of that nature. Because down there you had the Dolphins, and you had the
but everything was,
training.
like there's 2 D1 schools in Jacksonville instead of just one in Southwest Florida. I noticed that the Gators and the Knowles are more likely to come through Jacksonville than they are to come through Southwest Florida. Things like that. So it's an NFL city, and it feels like it. There's more big time sports here.
Yeah. And in terms of the media in Jacksonville versus the media, I'm trying to get something there. How is it different? Because I know you wrote for the paper, some in Naples, and the papers used to be significant down there because I actually spent a few years down in Port Charlotte, as you know, and Punta Gorda. And the talk shows a lot more prevalent in Jacksonville than they are down there. Talk about the difference in the media.
Well, there's more of it. I mean, the media scene in Southwest Florida pretty much disintegrated, quite frankly. Most of the local stations stopped doing sports. There's really only one sports talk station in Southwest Florida, and they have only one local show. And where Jacksonville has 2 stations and a bunch of local shows. So, there's more media here. So they cover more sports, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and what's it like living in a town with a pro football team?
Well, I have to admit, when they were 4-8 or 3-8 or whatever the case was, it wasn't that great. But with the way they ended the season, all right, this is an NFL city again. I will say, Trevor Lawrence's picture is everywhere.
I'll bet it is. They're pretty excited about it too down there. So,
yep.
David Moulton, it's always good talking to you, my friend. It's always good to have you. You're kind of the Reggie Jackson of our program. You straw the strings that stirs the drink.
I will say, you said that I'm the guy who, did away with hope or what have
you. The Grinch of hope.
And that is not what I meant. I don't think it's what I said. All right,
I'll give you 15 seconds to explain it.
But I do think it's the difference. Put it this way. I am the Grinch of hype. How about that?
All right, hype.
That I have sworn off hyping Gator sports in 2023.
Right, I'll accept
that. That's all. I'm hopeful. I mean, trust me, it makes my life a lot better if they're good. Okay, or at least interesting.
Yeah.
But I have just sworn off the hype. The Gator fans that I know are so done with hype. They just want results. They want to be able to see a better product, feel a better product. They don't want hype. They're hopeful, but they don't want hype.
So you're the Grinch is still hyping, not the Grinch is still hope. Okay.
I am.
I'm going to see if that washes with Fran's beard. He's on next. Because we took you to task pretty good last week. That's all
I'm sure you did.
But you are Reggie.
Okay.
I'm going to start calling you Reggie. Reggie Jackson, the stir of the stirs of the Buddy Martin Show. Great to have you on, David. Great stuff as always.
Buddy, I'm glad you look so good. I'm glad you're feeling better. All the best to your audience.
Thank you, my friend. Good job. Appreciate it. Good stuff. All right, that's David Moulton, and we're going right to the guy who was ready to take him on last week and say, hey, you can't talk about our Gators. No, I'm just kidding you. Francis Beard, good evening to you, friends. How you doing, buddy?
Another day in paradise.
Yeah. So you having a good day today? Good night?
Well, I've had to have the air conditioning repairman here.
Oh, no, don't mention that, please. I'm sitting here praying mine doesn't go out. Don't say those words.
Well, we got it before it really broke the whole thing, but fortunately, and had a terrific repairman from Jarvis Jarvis Heating and Air, and he came in, absolutely pinpointed the problem in a hurry and got to it, and we dodged a bullet. So thank goodness for somebody that comes in and is honest and went straight to it and said, "Here's what the problem is. This is what it's going to cost you," and it did exactly what he said, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Well, good for you. That's good. And now, friends, I want to make you hungry for a second. All right. This is something I'm doing these days a lot more of. I'm inviting you down here to participate in this. And this is my little grow tower, okay? I'm growing these right here. Ben Stoop's mother's going to buy one of these. And you might want to think about it. Grow your own greenies right there. Let's say put something green on the plate, right? This grows indoors and it can grow outdoors. It's called Grow Towers. They've been sponsoring our show lately some. I've got this one. And I'll come in and pull those greens off. And I'll put an egg or a piece of fish or something on top of it, salad. It's good. It's right. No dirt, no muss, no fuss. And I wanted to tell you and your listeners about it, Francis. You say, what is it? Well, this is what it is right here. You go to buddytowers.com and find out the information, how you can get one of these. And, by the way, you can make money. You can make money by people sign up, like Ben's mom's going to sign up. So let's hear it for Grow Towers, buddytowers.com. Check it out. And DM me if you want to know more about it, folks. Grow Towers, you can have one too. All right, Francis, I know you didn't make you hungry on that one, but I'm going to. Now, do you cook at all, Francis?
Oh, yeah.
What's your specialty? What's your go-to dish?
Let's see. For Sunday, I did a pork roast with mustard greens with mashed potatoes and corn muffins.
Nice.
I did all that.
Grow your own greens right here. That's good. And so you actually are, would you call yourself a chef?
I wouldn't call myself a chef, but nobody's ever died or gotten violently ill from anything I cook.
That's what Joni has in her kitchen. No one's ever died from anything I've eaten up here. So yeah, well, I'm not much. I like to poach eggs. I got a little egg poacher. And I'm a great salad maker. My mother taught me at a young age how to do that. And it's a special formula of ways you do it. I can make a great salad. When you come up to see me, I'm going to put my greens on there with a great salad. Maybe get you like mahi-mahi or salmon, and put some of that on top of that.
I do. I love mahi-mahi, salmon, and grouper. Those are my three.
All right. Well, I'll make that happen for sure. Well, some interesting things happen, friends, in basketball. You want to go over your thoughts? Well, let's start by just saying that I made a remark. The Final Four has two teams from South Florida, that great bastion of basketball.
Well, we also have to give credit to Nova Southeastern, which went 36-0. I watched their Division II National Championship game. Most entertaining basketball game I saw all year long.
No kidding.
Oh gosh, they went unbeaten. They averaged 103 points a game. They have a 5'9", 130-pound point guard that is absolutely fearless and phenomenal, and had a 4.7 to 1 assist to turnover ratio this year. They ended up with like 6 or 7 guys on the team, average double figures. And it kind of reminded me of the days when Hank Gathers and Bo Kimball were together at Loyola, when it was first guy open launches. And this team, they're fearless, they shoot. And so South Florida right now is the basketball capital of America.
I know.
You look at that. And if you had asked anybody, and this question said, okay, 2 teams from Florida will make the Final Four. Which ones will it be?
Right.
People would have said Florida and Florida State. I guarantee you they would have 100% of the time. They would have said that. And instead, look what happens. We end up with with Miami going, and we end up with Florida Atlantic. And of the two, I'm happy for Florida Atlantic. And Miami, I could care less. Couldn't care less about
so
them.
how many of those teams are on the Florida schedule, right? I mean, think about it.
Florida scrimmaged Miami. Florida scrimmaged Miami preseason.
Was that a scrimmage? I thought it was a game. Okay. They beat them, right? They did beat them 76-73.
Something like that. But it was a scrimmage.
And then what about Furman?
And Florida Atlantic beat the Gators here in the O-Dome.
And I remember that. And I said, boy, Florida's program is really sinking low. They got beat by Florida Atlantic. I think you told me. No, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they've won 34 ball games. I can guarantee you can't win 34 ball games unless you are pretty good.
Yeah.
And a lot of credit to Dusty May.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people realize that Dusty May was the manager on the last Division I team to go unbeaten. 76 Indiana. He was Bobby Knight's manager. So he's grown up.
Great stat.
I'll tell you another great stat. He took the job at Florida Atlantic. Brian White, who had been the AD at Louisiana Tech, becomes the AD there at Florida Atlantic. He and Brian White and Mike White had all been together at Louisiana Tech. Dusty May took the job, before he'd ever gotten down there to see the facilities, took the facilities, and he took his wife and Mike White to talk him out of not reneging on the contract because the facilities were so bad. And here he is, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, and 2022, 5 years later. You look at what he's done. Amazing.
Yeah, he said, and I saw the quote, Franz. He said, I think I just ruined my career when he got down and saw the facilities, right?
Yeah, and, when I read that, the first thing I thought about, and you know how my mind works, I thought back to my late friend Al McGuire, who, when he was the coach at Belmont Abbey, he was recruiting New York kids. That's what he knew. And he's at Belmont Abbey, which is a little bitty school outside Charlotte.
Belmont's the one in Nashville. That's right. Yeah.
Belmont Abbey. It's a small Catholic school outside of Charlotte. And they have a gym that only has seats on one side. The coaches and players are on the other side on both teams. The visiting team dresses in what I call the catacombs. I mean, it's like this basement. You got to go up like 3 levels of basement steps to get there. And Al used to send letters to kids, and he would take pictures of the Duke campus and the Duke chapel, and he'd say, "I can't afford to send you to bring you down here for a visit, but I'm going to send you these pictures. This is what you're coming to." Kids would get off the bus in Belmont, North Carolina, and they'd start looking around for the beautiful, glorious Duke chapel and couldn't find it. And then he says, "That's when I learned how to be a salesman, because I got them down here. Now I had to sell them into staying." And Dusty May, look at that. Take a look at Danny Hurley, UConn, another team Florida played.
He quit.
He wanted to. It's interesting. I had a conversation with Danny after they beat Florida, and I knew his dad. His dad was a marvelous human being, and what a great basketball coach at St. Anthony there in Jersey City. And Danny left St. Anthony, became the head coach at St. Benedict. And, you had Kevin Boyle, who's down there at Mount Verde, who was also there at St. Patrick. You talk about a hotbed of great basketball. And Danny Hurley was just marvelous there. And he's been tremendous at Rhode Island and now at UConn. And I told him after it, I said, "Danny, what I saw was what I saw from your dad 30 years ago." And he said, "It's a high school offense." And he said, it's what we run. It's what we're always going to run. And he says, "I hear all this stuff about how, modern stuff that people are running and everything. He says, if you got the right people who know how to run it, he says any offense will work, but you got to have the right people for it. He's got the right people. I as much as I would love to see Florida Atlantic win a national championship because of the Florida connection with Dusty May, and because Jack May, Dusty's son, is a walk-on who's here at Florida. As much as I'd like to see it, I cannot see anybody beating UConn. Just cannot see that happen. They're just way too good. Their guards are good. I'll tell you a great stat. I was watching their game yesterday, day before yesterday, and they tried to stop Jackson, their point guard. So what do they start doing? They start running the offense through Adam Sanogo. Now Sanogo is 6'9" and maybe 260. He's like Shebue from Kentucky, plays below the rim, but he dominates playing below the rim. He ends up with 6 assists. He ends up being the facilitator. He goes back to something that Todd Golden and I talked about in one of the interviews I did. And I said, one of the things that gets overlooked is we give credit. We say, oh, this guy got the assist. Sometimes the assist isn't the great pass. In fact, probably more than half the time, the assist is not the great pass. The great pass is the one that leads to the guy who makes the assist. That first pass. And as Todd said, he said, maybe what we need to do is add a hockey stat. In hockey, the guy that makes the pass before the pass gets an assist as well. And this is what Danny Hurley's got there at UConn. He's got a team that knows how to make the pass, and whether that's the one that goes for the assist or the one that leads to the assist, they do it. They move the ball well, and then they come off the bench for that 7'2" kid. And I agree with what I heard Saturday. I'm watching. The guy says, I'm watching an NBA player. Yes, you are. David Klingon is going to be really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Florida Atlantic's good, though. Florida Atlantic's
they're
good.
fun to watch. They really are. And I'll tell you, San Diego State impresses me as well. But anyway.
I watched them, and I thought the defensive job they did on Alabama was unbelievably
Really
good.
was.
And here's what they did against Alabama that was so good, and I think it's overlooked. They made Alabama spend the whole day taking bad shots. They made Brandon Miller the National Freshman of the Year. They made him revert to, it's all about me. The guy launches like 19 shots, makes 3 of them. And he absolutely killed Alabama's chances because he was all about himself there. And they had, and Quinterly was the same way. Quinterly, how many times do you have to get your shot block going to the rim before you figure out, hey, they're going to block my shot? How many times do you get a shot blocked? 8 times?
Yeah.
Alabama deserved what it got. And quite frankly, with the way they handled the Brandon Miller thing, I couldn't be happier that they lost. Tennessee.
I heard Feinbaum say today that he didn't think Miller would be back in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, he won't be. He'll be a top 5 draft pick in the NBA. I look at Tennessee, and Tennessee needed Zakai Ziegler. They got away with it until they got to the Sweet 16 game. In the Sweet 16 game, they just got absolutely annihilated. What UConn did to Arkansas, there are people doing hard time in Rayford for less. That was devastating. The SEC goes 0 for 3.
Now, speaking of which, I know you'll have some complaints about the Zebras. You always do. But Wednesday night, I've got a guy on the show that you know and like who was a Zebra. I'm going to get him to explain a few things to me. Don Rutledge.
Absolutely.
Terrific.
He's one of the best there's ever been.
Yeah. 4 or 5 Final Fours and a bunch of stuff. And he was a consultant for the SEC and for the Gators a long time. And I want to get this straight. I heard this discussed again today. You heard it many times. I heard an official call up on the show and say, I used to be an official, and you got to know who the star players are, and you can't be calling ticky tack fouls on them. And I think some of the calls that they made that got guys in foul trouble were wrong and knocked them out of play in the first half. And I am totally against that. I think you call the game the way it is. I think it's what the brothers will say, and you would say, right? Call the game.
Well, here's the thing. I heard people. I was listening to some Alabama people calling in. They were complaining about the officiating in their game with San Diego State. And here's what I said: the officials call the game. It's up to the team and the players to figure out this is how they're calling it. I have to adapt. If they're calling it the same way at both ends of the floor, you have nothing to complain about. Absolutely nothing. What I have a complaint about, and the thing that you will always hear me complaining about officials, is an official who, it's kind of like what you just said. He will let a star player get away with a walk or a hold or a push and whatever like that. And then he'll call a ticky-tacky foul on a kid that's just out there playing his heart out. I thought the foul calls on Drew Timme were bad calls.
Yeah.
I don't think Gonzaga wins that game even if they don't call it. In fact, I know they wouldn't have. They could not have beaten UConn. But I would have liked to have seen Drew Timme have a chance to go out in a blaze of glory. I would have been happy to see Drew Timme, if his last game he goes out with 30 points or something like that. I think that would have been a fitting way for him to go. But he didn't get that opportunity.
How'd you think Nembhard played?
I thought that he was physically overpowered by the San Diego State guards. I really did. I think Nembhard he's a small and quick player. His brother, people don't realize, Ryan Nembhard is maybe 5'11", maybe 155, 160. Andrew is almost 6'6". Andrew weighs 215 pounds. Big difference in that size. And you get to, in a physical game, your guard better be quicker than everybody else, like the kid from Kansas State. He is so quick that he can get away with stuff. Ziegler could do that at Tennessee this year. You could get away with a smaller guard if he's so quick that you can't catch up with him. But Nembhard wasn't as quick and wasn't as strong as physical, and he got overpowered.
He dribbles the ball too much. I always thought Tony plays in Florida.
Yeah, that Creighton offense is conducive to a lot of dribbling on the perimeter.
Yeah.
The thing that I think killed Creighton was Creighton's got this guy who transferred in from South Dakota State named Baylor Shireman, who's a terrific ball player, absolutely terrific ball player. They should have run the offense through him. They didn't do it, and it cost them. You go back. I'll take you back down nostalgia lane here. 2006, UCLA, Florida in the national championship game. UCLA decided they're going to take Torian Green out of the game. That was their idea of cutting the head off the snake. So what does Billy Donovan do? Billy just ran the offense through Joakim Noah. Nobody on UCLA ever figured out that Joakim Noah, up until he was a junior in high school, was a point guard. He knew this, and that was the cool thing about Billy's offense. He had 5 guys, and he could run the entire offense through all 5 of his players. So you try to cut off one, fine, we just run it through another guy. And, that was the thing that Greg McDermott did not do. He did not adjust to the fact that San Diego State came out there and they said, we're going to take Ryan Nembhard out of the game. They did it. they did not adjust and get the ball in the hands of Baylor Shireman and say, you do it. You look at what his stats were at South Dakota State. He was a tremendous passer. And I think that's one of the things that helped. Creighton lost 13 ball games this year. And I think one of the reasons they lost 13 ball games is they didn't run enough of the offense through Baylor Shireman. Gosh, I wish he had come here.
Great stuff. Before we go, I want to ask you about two subjects of which you're pretty well versed on. First of all, I want to ask you about the baseball team, and then I want to ask you about what you wrote about with Mertz last week. And it seems like I wouldn't say emergence, but at least something we see that you saw and wrote about. Baseball team, a bunch of home runs, friends. Those boys can hit that ball. Talk about Dinger City. I call them the Florida Power Company. And what was it? 10 home runs this weekend.
10 home runs this weekend. They've hit. I think right now they've hit like 60 for the season through 26 ball games. That's a pretty good total. They really. Here's the thing about them is this is what's impressive. Is at the beginning of the year, the big question was, what would happen if the starters had bad off games? Well, everybody assumed then that Florida was going to have to win games like church league softball scores, like 19-18 or something like that, because in the early going, the bullpen wasn't very good. Look at what this bullpen has emerged. Phil Abner now has turned into a go-to guy. Neely now has 5 saves. Yesterday, he brings in Chris Arroyo, who hadn't pitched in a while. Freshman lefty. Kid looked like he came straight from Yankee Stadium to play a college ball game. In 2 innings, 4 strikeouts. And I mean, what a left-handed kid with a movement on the ball. Great hook. Throws 94 miles an hour. You look at how the bullpen really came through. The hitting we know was going to be there. People can get through that lineup one time and maybe shut them down, but you're not going to get through them the second or third time. Too many good hitters. And what a good thing to see Wyatt Langford Saturday night.
A little tough on the outfield on a couple of balls he had to handle out there, but boy, that with the power they got with Langford, the lineup was exponential. I love how Sully handles his pitchers. He really gets them right.
I don't think Wyatt saw the ball. Everybody was having trouble seeing the ball there, and I don't think he saw the ball.
It happened to one of the players from Ole Miss too. They couldn't see what.
Yeah.
Let me get to you on football and Mertz let you take it out here with us. Tell us what you see. You're out there. You heard Billy. You'll hear Billy tomorrow in practice. What are you looking at here? And what's the progress report? And how are you feeling about what you're seeing in Graham Mertz?
Well, somebody who has been at just about every practice told me this yesterday. He said, Graham Mertz is the guy they've needed for the last 3 years. He is a natural leader, and people will follow him, and he gets it done. Now, that comes from somebody who's there regularly, who says this guy just oozes leadership. And I believe that, and I can tell you right now, this is what Billy Napier brought him in for. He brought him in to lead the team, first and foremost. Secondly, he brought him in to be a work example. And as everybody has said, he's the first guy into the building in the morning. He's the last guy to leave. Some guys even say, I think he sleeps in the building. And he laughed about that. I watched that interview again, and I got to tell you what, he radiates confidence, not cockiness, buddy. The kid radiates confidence. Now, what I'm hearing also is he throws really, really accurate passes. I look at his numbers at Wisconsin, and the numbers don't say accurate. So what happened there? Is it a case of maybe he had receivers that he's throwing good passes to bad receivers who can't run good routes, etc. Could be. I'm hearing, I'm also looking at this. Last year, remember that great line? And I don't know if it's a great line, but that line recently by Anthony Richardson, who complained about his receivers running routes. Remember that?
What
Oh
was it?
my God.
Remind me what it was.
Well, Anthony Richardson, I said, you only threw 53.8% of your passes. He said, yeah, if I'd had better receivers, I'd have gotten a lot more. I think Ricky Pearsall is an absolute stud. I really do. I think Justin Shorter is going to end up being a really good receiver. But you get beyond those two kids last year, and I don't think they had anybody that really ran decent routes. And I think that when Kerry Colbert left, it may have been one of these don't let the screen door hit you in the butt on the way out deals. And notice the guy they bring in. They bring in Billy Gonzalez. The best at teaching kids how to run routes properly. Absolutely the best there is at that. And I look at that and I start to wonder, I think that's why he hired Russ Callaway as the tight ends coach. Russ Callaway has never coached tight ends before, but the kid is a lights out recruiter. And I think that part of the Napier plan was, okay, I can compensate for Gonzalez not being a great recruiter by just letting him improve the wide receivers. And Callaway can be that guy that recruits like lights out.
Could be.
So I think that this is all. I think Billy Napier's got a better plan than we give him credit for. And this is one of the things. I don't know if you read this in that interview. In the story I wrote about Graham Mertz, he said Billy Napier has a plan.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he always has an answer for everything. Now, what does that tell us? That tells us a coach that isn't going to get flabbergasted by anything that goes on. He's going to see the situation and he's going to see the circumstance. And what's that old saying? He's going to make chicken salad out.
Chicken.
So I look at
it
this.
It means his message is getting through, France, too. That's important.
Yeah, and I think Billy Gonzalez was brought here. That I think that Billy Napier sees what he's got, knows the talent that he has, and he knows that he's got to have a guy that if he can teach precision routes, that the rest of it will take care of itself. I think he's got it going. I'm more confident right now in Billy Napier than I was a week ago. And a week ago, I was pretty confident in him. But
great stuff from the Iron Duke tonight, man. He could go another half hour. You also want to stick around, he'll entertain you. He may tap dance and who knows, put on some chicken cacciatore and whip up a nice little dinner time.
I can make chicken cacciatore.
I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna come eat some of it.
You don't want to eat my chicken cacciatore, but I can make. I know how to make it, but you don't want to eat it.
You gotta catch a chicken to make cacciatore.
Now you want a little Alfredo? Okay, I can do you some chicken Alfredo. I can do that.
Stop making me hungry, will you please? I gotta go in
there. And I can tell you another thing. You want ribs done right? I can do your ribs done right. Yeah.
Well, I'll take your word on that because I can't eat them these days. But anyway, I know that they'll make me a batch in about 6 months. Francis, good to talk to you. Great stuff tonight. Keep listening, folks. If you're not watching and not reading them on Gator Bay, you ain't doing it right. If you want to know what's going on in the world of Gators, this is your guy, the great Francis Beard. Thanks, Francis.
Yeah, now I got to figure out how to write something for tomorrow.
But you always come up with it. You always come up with it.
After the day I've had, I'm brain dead, and I got to figure out. I got to figure
out what it's like to be brain dead. Let's see what it comes.
I got to have a Lazarus. My brain has to have a Lazarus moment,
Just get a copy of this transcript and print it. You'll be all right.
All right, take care.
All right, folks. Thanks to friends. Thanks to our sponsors, Restar Medical Research, particularly. We like to always make a special effort to recognize them because they do such a wonderful job in our community, both as the downtown stakeholders in this community and also their families here. And we really love being in business and supporting them. If you would like to know more about them, what they do, go to renstar.net and read about them. You probably know by now, after all these years, that they are a premier, high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility right here in downtown Ocala. They have cutting-edge technology, and the clinical trials include things like Alzheimer's disease, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, many other conditions that affect us. They want you to come in and be a part of their clinical trials because part of the research they want to find out is what our DNA is like. So check them out. You can be part of those trials. In some cases, they compensate you for time and travel, and you can go and restart it and find that out. Remember, they continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Don't forget to check out our Grow Towers again, buddytowers.com. We'll talk more about that this week. Thanks to our friends at Meldon Law. Thanks to our friends at Titan MRI and other folks who sponsor this program, to our guests tonight. I'm Buddy Martin. Have a great night, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.